From our newsroom in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite and Bert Quint in East Pakistan, Ed Bradley in Paris, Richard C. Hottelet in New York, Robert Shackney in New York, Marvin Kalb in Washington, Bernard Shaw in Washington. And tonight, another special report on the environmental crisis. Can the world be saved?
Good evening. The India-Pakistan fighting has escalated dramatically and dangerously. It spread to the previously uninvolved western border between the two countries. India charged that Pakistan had launched all-out war. There were blackouts in many cities, including New Delhi, and airports were closed. Pakistan ordered mobilization of all able-bodied men, and India's Prime Minister Indira Gandhi warned her people to prepare for protracted fighting and hardship. It was she who accused Pakistan of starting all-out war with air attacks against 8 Indian airfields, including one at Agra, site of the Taj Mahal. The Indians said damage was light. The Pakistanis acknowledged 4 airfield attacks with American-built Sabre jets, but claimed they were in retaliation for Indian ground attacks along the West Pakistan border. Thus, the fighting jumped to the frontier between India and the heartland western section of the divided nation of Pakistan, jumped 1,200 miles from the area where it started and from which Bert Quint reports.
Pakistani loyalists call this East Pakistan. Rebels refer to it as Bangladesh, Bengal land. But the soldiers I'm with here are neither Pakistanis nor rebels. They are regular Indian Army troops. They say it's for self-defense that they have pushed across the border of a country with which they are not technically at war. It's true enough that they have to defend themselves. They and the Pakistanis have been shelling each other heavily in this area. The Indian border town of Balurghat has been hit hard. Its people and those of neighboring villages are fleeing, joining millions of East Pakistani refugees in the ranks of the homeless. A railway track marks the border here. The Indians say they crossed it to silence the Pakistani artillery. That may be so, but it's only one step in what has been a constant escalation of hostilities. India has supported East Pakistani rebels with weapons, training, and artillery fire. For months, Pakistan has charged that Indian troops have been violating her territory. Until some days ago, India denied the charge. Now it says, we will go in every time we have to in order to protect our positions. After the first highly publicized incursion last month, the Indian forces returned quickly to their own side. They have been here a week already. From the way armor and men have been moving along the border to back them up, it looks as though they are in no hurry to leave this time. It hasn't been easy. Pakistani troops are on 3 sides.
They've been fighting day and night, ceaselessly.
Are you pretty much surrounded by Pakistanis?
Well, Pak troops are all around us here, and they've got their armor, they've got their guns, they've got their infantry, and the deliberate actions which is being taken by them is very, very noticeable, very, very discernible.
Though they are on enemy soil, the Indians look strong. Their line of supply is much shorter than the Pakistanis. Besides, the Pakistanis are spread thin in their eastern wing and are being harassed in many places. Right along, it has been India's goal to pressure Pakistan into giving autonomy to the east so that the Pakistani refugees here will go home. It is the exerting of that pressure that has brought Indian and Pakistani troops into battle.
Bert Quint, CBS News, at an Indian forward position in East Pakistan.
2 days ago, the United States cut off licenses to ship $2 million worth of ammunition to India. Today, because of the worsening situation, the State Department says it has cut off all military help for India. This includes $11.5 million in electronic and communications equipment and aircraft parts. Military shipments to Pakistan were halted earlier this year. While India and Pakistan talked of war, a young man was in Paris trying to get medical help for East Pakistani refugees. But his heavy-handed approach did not work, as Ed Bradley reports.
The plane was moving away from the Orly terminal when the pilot radioed the control tower. I'm going to cut my engines. There's a hijacker on board. Police say Jean K., a 28-year-old Frenchman born in Algeria, had entered the cockpit with a gun and told the pilot he was requisitioning the plane for the Bengali people. He demanded 20 tons of medical supplies for the people of Bangladesh and warned the police to stay away from the plane and to avoid any movement that could be suspect. If the demands were not met, officials in the control tower were told the plane, 22 passengers, and a crew of 6 would be destroyed. Police cleared the area, and although a large section of the airport was closed, other flights were near normal schedule, including one plane bringing West German Chancellor Willy Brandt for a round of talks with President Pompidou. A 2-hour deadline for delivery of the supplies was set and then extended. The major problem was one of coordination in getting 20 tons of medical equipment to the airport in heavy Friday afternoon traffic. Once the supplies arrived, they were taken one truck at a time to the rear of the craft, and there, policemen, dressed as baggage handlers and Red Cross workers, started loading the cholera vaccine and penicillin. A number of policemen entered the cockpit through a trap door, and while Kay was bent over examining the packages, the disguised police and those in the cockpit rushed him. Kay fired one shot, slightly injuring a policeman, and then was knocked down by a blow from the butt of a pistol. Police swarmed around the plane. The remaining passengers rushed down the stairs 6 hours after they boarded. The medical supplies are still at the airport. Red Cross officials say they will be sent to the people of Bangladesh, although a different method will be used. Ed Bradley, CBS News, Paris.
The bomb, incidentally, was a dud, nothing but a tangle of wires in a box. Canada and the United States signed a new extradition treaty today covering 30 specific crimes ranging from skyjacking to murder. Exempt, however, is draft dodging, which is regarded as more political than criminal in nature. Various unofficial sources indicate that more than 40,000 young Americans have fled to Canada to avoid military service.
You know what's nice about Christmas? When somebody opens your present and says, wow, instead of it's very nice. So here are 3 ideas you couldn't even get last year. Polaroid's Focus Flash 400s. Flash shots don't come out too light or too dark, and it's automatic when you focus. The Big Shot, close-up color portraits you wouldn't believe, 1995. And the Square Shooter, new square color pictures. They're just a little smaller, but you can save somebody up to 25% on film. I mean, it's Christmas. Wow!
I'm Tom Harmon, giving my son a workout. Sensible exercise like this helps me stay on the young side, along with sensible eating, like breakfast starting with Product 19, the high-potency cereal, with all the officially established minimum daily adult requirements for vitamins and iron, and good taste.
Who won the game, boys?
I let Dad win. It's his ball.
Stay on the young side. Start with Kellogg's Product 19.
Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir has completed her top-level talks with President Nixon and the administration, and she commented on them today at a news conference. Marvin Kalb reports.
Mrs. Meir tried playing the game of appearing to be genuinely reassured about American political and military support. But she seemed worried about a possible big power deal behind her back. She has the president's Moscow trip in mind, and clearly she was not happy about the new American attitude on selling jet planes to Israel.
We want aircraft. We don't want publicity. And we were never happy about the necessity of bringing up a problem of this in the open. All I can say is that I have done my best to explain why the additional aircraft is so important to Israel.
Mrs. Meir came here with a large shopping bag, she said. She leaves with many top-level assurances, but with no jets. The president's assurances stretch into the indefinite future. He has decided more jets will be provided if the Mideast ceasefire breaks down, but not now. Now, he feels, would be the wrong time, the wrong signal to the Arabs. Mrs. Meir believes this is the right time and the jets the right signal. This key difference remains between them. Marvin Kalb, CBS News, Washington.
The United Nations debate on the Middle East got underway today, and Egyptian Foreign Minister Mahmoud Riyad was the first speaker.
For the past years, the United States has supplied Israel with military and financial aid, while Israel was actively pursuing its expansionist policy and undermining all initiatives to carry out Security Council Resolution 242. There has been a basic contradiction between the repeated assertions of the United States of support of Security Council resolutions and its actual policy of providing military and economic aid to Israel.
Mahmoud Riyad spoke soberly, avoiding the war talk that's come from Cairo in recent weeks, talk which might only get Israel more American Phantom jets and economic aid. He spoke in defense of international law, accusing Israel again and again of pursuing a policy of territorial expansion in gravest violation of the UN Charter. He called on the U.S. to join others in taking measures against Israel, and he mentioned enforcement sanctions. But Riyad knows this is not in the cards. What he will settle for is U.S. support of an assembly resolution reactivating UN mediator Gunnar Jarring's mission on the basis of Israel's commitment to withdraw from all Egyptian territory while Egypt agrees to make peace. Richard C. Hottelet, CBS News, United Nations.
The Viet Cong radio has announced 3-day ceasefire periods in Vietnam for Christmas and New Year celebrations and 4 days during Tet in February. The Allies have yet to announce their ceasefire. Last night, we showed you excerpts from a short Defense Department film purporting to show electronic tracking devices being dropped along the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Laos. Under questioning, the Pentagon admitted the film was a simulated composition of old, new, and captured film. Today, the Pentagon apologized, saying the film was unprofessionally prepared and should not have been released. They promised to prevent a similar mistake in the future. In Santiago, Chile, after the second night of violence, an overnight curfew has been imposed, and police have threatened to shoot to kill violators. Last night, a group of women protesting the Marxist policies of President Allende's government were set upon by his supporters. There was fighting, and 3 persons were wounded.
In every state in America, families are going places, taking longer trips and loving it. Wherever you travel, Texaco is there, ready to help make your trip a pleasure. The Texaco retailers you meet in all 50 states are ready, willing, and able to take care of your car with Texaco products you can trust. And Texaco knows something else that's important to families: restrooms, clean and neat, the kind you really appreciate. We're doing our best to make all Texaco restrooms another good reason for stopping at a Texaco service station.
Unemployment increased last month, and so did wholesale prices. The Labor Department announced that unemployment was up to a full 6% in November, an increase of 0.2% over the October figure. At the same time, the wholesale price index increased by 0.1%. The Labor Department said that was because of increases in agricultural products not covered by the price freeze. Incidentally, even though unemployment was rising, a record number of Americans held jobs in November. Employment rose to 80 million. The government advised tenants today that under the new economic policy, they may refuse to pay rent increases unless landlords open their books to prove the raises are justified. The Internal Revenue Service, who is responsible for enforcing Phase 2 controls, also promised to vigorously investigate alleged rent violations. To justify higher rents, the IRS said landlords must produce records which show the need for an increase over the rent charged during the freeze period. The price of the dollar continued to drop on the European money markets today in anticipation of a possible official devaluation. European banks weren't too happy about it because it does mean a more favorable trade position for the United States. Wall Street seemed to be happy, though. The Dow Jones Industrials were up almost 11 points for a gain of more than 60 points in the last 6 days. Today's volume on the New York Exchange was just under 16,800,000 shares. The average price per share gained 47 cents on the New York Exchange, 18 cents on the American. Congress has been asked to provide $1.5 million in an emergency appropriation for the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in Washington. It's not a case of paying more than expected for the performances. The problem's the public. Bernard Shaw reports.
This multi-million-dollar marbled house of culture opened only 2 months ago. It now has a daytime nightmare, a phenomenal crush by tourists, thousands of them, so much so that emergency money from Congress is needed to pay for more guards and escalating maintenance costs.
As somebody said, you know, they love us so much, they're taking us away piece by piece. Yeah, we've lost everything from light bulbs to pieces of carpet, swatches of curtain, every ashtray in the place, some marble faucets and so on. And a rather funny one is the brass covers that go on the electric outlets have disappeared at an alarming rate. Now, we can't quite understand what you do with them. I suppose it makes a nice drink coaster, or it can be hammered into an earring or something. But I got a woman with scissors in her hand doing a piece of curtain in the Grand Foyer, and asked her what she was doing, and she retaliated that she was taxpayer.
Some of the ornate elevator chandeliers have been reduced to this, and inside one lady's room, tree-shaped lights have their crystal branches picked off. Roger Stevens, the center's chairman, says permanent fixtures may be necessary. Edward Matto says public manners would help.
I used to say to my children when we went into an art gallery or a church, something we wanted to see, whatever, they said, come and be glad and don't touch.
Officials plan to sell postcards, trinkets, and other souvenirs, hoping that this will soothe itchy fingers. And while that's slightly commercial, it may keep this monument from being loved to pieces. Bernard Shaw, CBS News, at the Kennedy Center in Washington.
Senator Edmund Muskie came out against William Rehnquist today as the Senate prepared to debate confirmation of President Nixon's Supreme Court nominees. Muskie said he will vote against Rehnquist because his judicial philosophy clearly would weaken individual rights and the Bill of Rights. However, even the leading opponents of Rehnquist do not believe they now have enough votes to defeat him. In his first full day as Secretary of Agriculture, Earl Butz has moved to ease the plight of some grain farmers. Butz said today that the government will begin buying corn on the open market within 10 days. The move meant to stabilize prices for this year's bumper crop and to build up reserve supplies for future periods when corn may be short.
What's the ideal laxative? That would be a laxative thorough enough for an adult, yet gentle enough for a child. Put them together, and you have Phillips Milk of Magnesia. Milk of Magnesia is so thorough and yet so gentle. Doctors recommend it more often than any other laxative. So get Phillips Milk of Magnesia for you and your whole family. It's the kind of laxative doctors recommend most often.
Sunbeam thinks a girl should be free to go to the salon or just move around while she's drying her hair. Sunbeam's floating free hair dryer gives a girl her freedom because the motor travels with you, right up here, more than 14 feet in any direction. Floating free hair dryer. It's another first for the Sunbeam family of fine hair dryers.
Reuters News Service tonight reports a break in the deadlock between East and West Germany over terms of the Berlin Agreement. Reuters says the East German negotiators were given permission to initial agreement on transit to and from West Berlin and a related matter of eased travel restrictions by West Berliners to the east. There was disagreement today over a report that within the next 2 months, American and Russian space officials will agree on joint space flights. That report was attributed to officials at the U.S. Embassy in Moscow. However, NASA officials in Washington said such a joint project is still being studied. What's expected in 2 months isn't an announced agreement, but instead a report on the technical feasibility. Meanwhile, despite the denials, sources said an agreement is near, although the joint mission itself would not take place until 1974 or later. CBS News has learned that Colonel Thomas Stafford, commander of the Apollo 10 flight, has been taking Russian lessons 3 days a week at the Manned Spacecraft Center in Houston. In September, the United States launched an orbiting solar observatory into Earth orbit to get a better view of more information about the sun. Well, today it was disclosed the sun has north and south polar caps, just like the Earth and other planets. Well, not quite. You see, the sun's polar caps aren't exactly ice-covered. The temperatures are more than 1,000,000 degrees. 1 year ago this week, William Ruckelshaus was confirmed as administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency to supervise government efforts to clean up the environment. We talked to Ruckelshaus about what he's accomplished and what he's learned in his first 12 months in the fight against pollution.
Have we improved the quality of the air and the water in this year at all?
Only slightly, and it depends on how you measure it, of course. The air pollution that's caused by the automobile is, by every measurement we have, on the way down. In water pollution, we've caused some improvement in some river basins, in some bodies of water. But the improvement at this point is marginal, and we're a long way from being home.
I asked Mr. Ruckelshaus whether he thought our big cities could really bring their normal air quality up to satisfactory or even good levels, and if so, when?
Well, I think that we're going to make it, and maybe it's because of being a born optimist, but if the 1975 standards, which we've now, national ambient air quality standards, which we've announced for the 6 major air pollutants in the country, are met in the vast majority of the regions of the country, which I believe they will be by mid-1975. If these standards are met, the air in most every city in this country is going to be very good. For instance, if they're met in Los Angeles, there won't be any smog.
What would you say after 1 year as to whether your hopes are greater or lesser as to the chances of really getting the job done?
Well, they're certainly more sophisticated than they were a year ago, but I would say that I was hopeful when I took the job, and I remain hopeful. I can't say that my hope is accelerated. I see some problems in some areas I didn't realize were there. I see tremendous scientific disagreement as to the health effects of some of these pollutants, as to what is the best control technology to take care of the problem. And I see a disagreement as to what should be the ultimate goals of the society itself. But I think we have in time caught the problem, and that if we address ourselves as a people intelligently and forthrightly to the solution of the problem, we can solve it. I can't say that I'm as hopeful worldwide that we've caught the problem in time, or that we have the degree of awareness worldwide that we need in order to assure that the rest of the planet is going to make the same kind of effort that this nation will make in the next decade.
Mr. Ruckelshaus, in the area of environment, there's been a great deal of talk now about the quality of life. Not just whether we can survive or not, but can we survive well? Are you concerned with that?
Well, in a much broader sense, yes. Our narrow responsibility is pollution abatement. And this is an intense responsibility that we deal with daily. In the broader sense, if we're ever going to really come to grips with the problems of the environment, we have to look at the much broader problems of land use, of population control, of what do we really mean by a clean, healthy, and safe environment. We have to look at the problems of the production of energy, of our almost blind allegiance as a nation to the concept of a gross national product. It's my view that we should look much more carefully at a concept of a net national product, not what are we grossly producing, and is that a measurement of our economic progress, but what are we producing in the net. And economic progress, or progress as a nation, measured more in terms of the quality of that progress rather than its quantity. And I think only when we devise the mechanism and approach and style of viewing things in that manner will we really have, for ourselves, correctly assessed the possibility of achieving a quality of life that enables each human being to reach their full potential.
New Orleans District Attorney Jim Garrison was indicted by a federal grand jury today on charges of bribe-taking and income tax evasion. Garrison's accused, along with 2 former New Orleans policemen, of receiving up to $1,500 a month to permit illegal gambling on pinball machines. He also is charged with failing to file proper income tax returns for the years 1965 through 67. It was Garrison who unsuccessfully prosecuted Clay Shaw while trying to prove that the assassination of President Kennedy was a conspiracy.
Afraid of your mailbox? Do you think it's out to get you with all those bills? Bills you can take care of so much easier? Drop into Beneficial Finance and turn those bills into one payment that doesn't take that big bite out of your paycheck every month. Beneficial wants to lend you the full amount you have in mind. Be good to your mailbox. See Beneficial.
At Beneficial, you're good for more.
I've made the greatest cooking discovery since fire. The Radar Range microwave oven made only by Amana. Uses ordinary household current. We cook this hot dog in 20 seconds. The food gets hot, but the oven stays cool. We cook this 5-pound roast in 35 minutes, a baked potato in 4, and ham and eggs in 3. It's great for frozen food and leftovers. Remember, if it doesn't say Amana, it's not a Radar Range.
A former police narcotics detective whose real-life exploits are the subject of a current popular movie has been kicked off the New York City police force. Robert Shackney reports.
The French Connection, the movie so highly praised by critics for its authentic portrayal of New York police at work, based on a real case about drug smugglers. The technical advisor was the detective who actually solved that case in real life, Eddie Egan, and he also played a small part in the film.
Hold on, Jimmy. You wasted 2 months on this. No callers are coming in while you two guys are running around town. Now go back to work. You're off special assignment.
Today, it's ex-detective Eddie Egan, dismissed from the police force for what was called serious misconduct, involving the handling of confiscated heroin and supposed failure to keep proper records and to meet court appointments.
Well, it's my contention, gentlemen, that although I've been found guilty of violating some of those rules, there was no intent to violate them. It was only to do the job, to bring a little peace and happiness to the families of this city of New York. And I feel very bad for the police officers I leave behind who I handcuffed again to these typewriters. They can't get out there and do the job and make it safe for each and every one of you people out there in New York City.
Do you think somebody had it in for you?
Well, I know one thing, that I was involved in the writing, the creating, and the bringing to the screen the movie The French Connection. It states in there that he shatters the rules, but he's a good cop. And I guess somebody has seen fit to, well, if I shattered the rules, we'll make him pay the penalty for it.
Egan now has a major role in another movie that's being filmed. He'd asked for early retirement and now stands to lose a $7,000 a year pension unless an appeal of his dismissal is successful. And that's the way it is. Friday, December 3rd, 1971. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News. Good night.
It's true.
You can take a quiet break in the 72 Ford LTD.
But Ford gives you more than just quiet. It gives you Quiet Plus. For one thing, brakes built on the same principle as the big jets. Disc brakes, developed by the aircraft industry to stop today's faster, more powerful jets without pulling to the left or right, no matter how wet the weather. At Ford, we took the disc brake principle out of the sky and put it on the road. Designed them to help give you straighter, surer stops.
The fact is, Ford was the first American manufacturer to give you standard power front disc brakes. The Ford LTD, where quiet and better engineering come together to give you a better value car.
For 72, take a quiet break in a Ford LTD at your Ford dealers. Quiet Plus, another better idea from Ford.
Direct from our newsroom in New York, this has been the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite. John Wayne, James Stewart, and Henry Fonda join in a tribute to a legendary career in The American West of John Ford, Sunday at 9:30, 8:30 Central Time on CBS.
Methodist property tax ruling and Governor Dunn challenged to reveal how he financed his campaign. Details next on the news on Channel 5.
When I was a kid, I used to play outside a lot. When I ached from cold or the flu, my mother gave me St. Joseph aspirin for children. That's the one children's doctor.
Pan and place them in the oven then. You'll be eating steamy bunny brown and serve again.
That's what I said. Bunny bread.
Hi, Ray Scott here with news about the greatest battery sale of the year.